What's up everyone? It's Rayvon from Love Lola. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am just so happy to have you here with me. Make sure that you take a moment to look down below in the description box because that's where you're going to find a link to where you can purchase the pattern. I'm going to have links to where I purchase my materials, my vinyls, my zippers, my hardware. If I'm using it, you're going to have a link to where you can find it. Today, we're going to be making get all of your pieces cut out. I have interfaced everything with Sewfuse Plus because I'm obsessed with it and I love the way it makes my bags feel. Okay, so we've got our pieces cut out. We do need to make a few marks. If you are going to be adding your logo badge, if you would like, this is a good spot to add it. You can use your pattern piece to get that marked. Also, the thumb lock, you need the female part of your thumb lock to be marked right here. If you're going to be using piping, she gives us some measurements, some marks for where we're going to start and finish that. And also on the bridge, you need to make a mark for where you're going to be adding the hardware for your strap. Now, make sure before you poke your holes for that you take your hardware and measure it and make sure that it matches because they're all different sizes, you know? Okay, so we've got our lower band, which you're going to be cutting two of from the front and the back. We have got our front pocket section A. And then we have got the side that connects to that. We've got our front pocket contrast band. We have got this front panel. We got a top left and a top right piece. Okay, so that's what our front panel piece is going to look like once we get it all connected. We've got our gusset. We've got two of those. And then we've got our flap panel piece. Now, according to the instructions, you need to cut two of these. One in lining material. One in lining material and one in an exterior material. Lola, baby, please, I need you to watch out. Go. Okay, yes. The flap panel piece, you're supposed to cut two pieces and then you fold it on that line down the middle. So kind of like you would do basically like you would do a strap. You would fold it into that line, You do that for both pieces. And then you would take those two pieces and lay them together and sew at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around that. I've decided instead of doing an exterior and lining piece, I'm just gonna do my exterior piece and fold it 4 ways. So basically, I just use this. Let me move this. So basically, I just took this piece and doubled it up. And now I'm going to draw a line down the middle and do it just like a strap. Fold it in. Fold it in. And fold it again. And then I'm going to go and sew around this whole thing at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So it's essentially doing the exact same thing. Okay, so this is our main panel, the front. If you like this little custom-made label, it is available on my website I just got these in and I absolutely love them. Okay. Also have this matching. You can attach it to your zipper pull if you like, or you can just attach it to, you know, anywhere in your bag, just as a decorative piece. I've attached this one to a hook and I'll be adding it to my bag somewhere. I don't know where yet, probably by my strap. Anyway, these are both available on my website. Let's keep going. All right, we've got our back pieces. Lower band. We've got that lower band, the back pocket exterior, and our back panel top. Now go ahead and mark the midpoint of all of your pieces because it's going to make your life easier. Let's get started. Okay, really quick, I'm going to show you how I marked my my spot for my thumb lock. So what I did was I used a seam ripper to rip out right on the line where that little mark, you can see it was just a little bar. You know, it's like a picture of what these locks look like. So basically it was drawn to mimic this bar that goes across here. So I cut that out. And once I cut that out, I laid it on my pattern piece and marked that line. Then I took this piece and lined it up where that bar was even with the line that I just drew. All right, and then I took my washer and I lined it up first with where that line is going to be. And then lined it up with this line at the midpoint and drew my lines. Okay? I know sometimes it can get confusing how to make sure that your hardware is straight. So that's how I do that, to make sure that it's not going in a tilt or anything, because I hate when that happens. Okay. We've got that done. Now we're going to start getting this stuff together. So I'm going to go ahead and get my hardware installed, my badge, and then we're going to get going. Okay, so I've made my mark on the back of this piece on where I'm going to get the bottom part of my thumb lock attached. I do have this available on my website if you're looking for a thumb lock like this. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our thumb lock attached. It's really easy. I do have these available on my website. I've made my marks. I'm just going to insert my prongs. Alright, make sure you do have a piece of stabilizer behind there. I cut myself a little piece of Pelon Peltex 70. Just for a little reinforcement. Alright. Alright, and now let's get this other end attached. Alright.
I think I found one of your squeegees.
And we're good to go.
I found one of your squeegees.
Thank you, sweetie. Alright, we're going to set this aside for now. Okay, so let's grab our front panel, top left and top right. We're going to place these right sides together and then get them sewn together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have it sewn together, what you want to do is press it open. Open up those seams. There we go. If you need to use some kind of tape to hold it down, you can, but it should be fine. Then we're going to head back to the machine and top stitch along both sides at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now grab your front panel bottom, and this is the lining. And we're gonna place these right sides together and then go and get them connected at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. All right, these are right sides touching. All right, now let's go and get this connected at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now you want to turn your seam allowance so that it's going down below this bottom piece. All right, and now top stitch along the bottom piece at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, we can set this aside and let's grab these two pieces, our front pocket section A and section B. We're going to place these so that they're right sides together. And now we're going to go and sew this at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once we're done sewing that together, we're going to do just like before. We're going to open it. Lola, baby. Open those seams up and then top stitch at 1/8 of an inch along both sides. All right, now once we've got that top stitched on both sides, let's go ahead and grab one of our lower band pieces, and we want to place these right sides together. Pin it. All right, and let's go and sew this at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's go ahead and fold that down. So our seam allowance is beneath that bottom piece. All right, now let's go top stitch along that bottom piece and 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside for just a second. Let's grab our front pocket lining piece and our front pocket contrast band. And we want them to be right sides touching. Get them pinned together. All right, let's go and sew this together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. All right, let's get it so that our seam allowance is going down underneath the lining piece. Okay, and now we're gonna go and sew along that lining at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and now we're gonna place these right sides together, pin it. And we're gonna go and get these attached at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once you've got it attached, you wanna open it up. And you want to press it so that your seam allowance is going towards this middle piece. This piece that was our front pocket contrast band, you want your seam allowance going towards that. Press it out. And now we're going to go and sew along that on this middle piece at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance top stitch. Alrighty, once we have that attached and top stitched, we're going to fold it in half, find your midpoints on the bottom, match them up. Okay. And press it. That should be right down the middle. Perfect. And now we're going to go and top stitch right along the top. Here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once we've got that done, we're gonna grab the panel that we made earlier, and we're just going to place this right on top. Match up those midpoints on the bottom. Okay, and now we're gonna go baste around this whole pocket at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, we're finished with the front. How pretty is that? Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it so much. Ugh. Okay, we can set that aside. And now we're gonna... Okay, for this next part, we're gonna be working with our back panel bottom and our back panel top. We're also gonna be working with our little flap piece that we made. Our back panel top is gonna be right side facing up. Okay. So we want our little flap piece to also be right side facing up, and place it right on that midpoint. And now you can either use double-sided tape or you can baste it together. I mean double-sided tape, or you can use a clip so that you can baste it together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm gonna go and do that really quick. Okay, now grab your back panel bottom, and you're gonna place these right sides together. Pin it. Okay, now let's go and get this attached at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's flip it over. And we want our seam allowance to be going towards the bottom. And now we're gonna go and top stitch along the bottom lining at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I already did this piece. I'm sorry, I thought I hit record, but I didn't. All I did was grab my lower band piece and that large mid piece for the back, the exterior piece. Oh, there it is. Okay. These two pieces, and I placed them right sides together and then got them joined at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once they were joined, I just pressed it down so that the seam allowance was going behind the bottom piece and top stitched at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so now we can set this aside. We're gonna grab our back pocket lining and our back pocket exterior. And we want to attach these right sides touching. And let's get them pinned together. Okay, and now we're gonna go and sew these together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once we've got that joined, we wanna press our seams out, and we want our seam allowance at this point going up. And now we're gonna top stitch along this top piece at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once we have that top stitch, we are going to fold it in half so that wrong sides are touching. Match up that midpoint, the midpoints on both of those, and then fold.
And then squeeze. There you go. Squeeze.
Let's pin it. Okay, so now we're gonna go and top stitch right along the top. So this is what the exterior of the bag looks like. This is the back, and this is like the inside of the pocket, okay? And we're top stitching just right here and 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now she did say after you add that first top stitch at 1/8 of an inch, if you would like to go and add a second one, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's grab our, no, not that, just kidding. Let's grab this piece that has the little flat piece on it, and we're going to place this right on top. Match up your midpoints. And once you have that matched up, go ahead and start pinning all the way around. Once you've got that lined up, go ahead and get that basted on. All right, so now we can take these two pieces and set them aside for now. Well, actually, if you like, you can now add some interfacing or a stabilizer to it. I'm good. I've already stabilized the pieces. I mean, I've already interfaced my pieces. So, and my material choices are pretty thick, and I use vinyl as my lining, so I think I'm good on that. Now let's grab our gusset pieces, our exterior gusset pieces. And we're gonna use our pattern to get the placement for our bridges. Now I'm going to just mark the top of the bridge. I am going to mark the top and the bottom. But I'm not gonna make the holes yet because I'm just gonna make sure that my hardware is the same size. All right, let's grab it. Okay, actually, if you are going to be doing piping, this is the time for you to get that done. There is a link in the instructions on how to do piping, so you can follow that. I'm not going to be doing it today. All right, so now we're going to grab our gussets that we have already put our holes in and place them right sides together. And we're gonna go and sew these together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's press it open. And then flip it over. And we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch on both sides of that seam. Okay, once you've got that done, let's grab our front piece. And we want to match up the middle of this with the middle of this. Right sides are touching. And let's start getting this pinned. Match up the center point. There we go. And now we're going to match up the edge. Okay, now we're just going to pin the entire thing, distributing the weight. What I like to do is start pinning from along the bottom to about right there. And then I'll start pinning from the top. And that way I can just kind of evenly distribute everything when we get to those corners. Okay, so she did mention, I mean, we all know sometimes we struggle with curves a little bit. So she mentioned that if you need to, you can go ahead and sew this together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance first, just to get everything attached, and then go back and do your final stitch at 1/4 of an inch. So what we want is a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but if you want to do 1/8 first, you can go ahead and do that just to get everything, you know, where it's not going to be moving around on you. that wasn't bad at all. You can totally do that without adding it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance first. Okay, once we've got that on, so cute. Let's grab our back piece and do the same thing. Match up those midpoints, the top, and then pin around the entire thing and get it sewn on at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I went ahead and trimmed down just along my curves a little bit. And now we can turn this out. It's just so cute. I love the smaller size bags. This is perfect. I love when I can test a smaller pattern. Don't worry, she has a big sister. She's coming up. If you like big bags, don't get your panties in a pinch. Is that what they say? There's a big one coming up too. All right. All right, go ahead and massage those seams out just a little bit. This is super thin. I like it. I may go back and add a little bit of a stabilizer to the gusset. Since it is so thin, it wouldn't hurt, but we'll see. All right. Yeah, I think I will. So cute. Okay, so what we want to do now is go ahead and get our bridges put on our gusset. We've already made the holes. All right, I'm going to be using these. These are available on my website. I do have 2 sizes, so I have this size and this one. I'm going to be using the smaller one because this bag is so tiny. Simply going to place it over the holes that I just made. And I do like to use stabilizers when I am adding hardware. So I have cut some stabilizer pieces. And to install these, you just place these holes right over the holes that you make on your bag. Okay, upon doing my second one, I realized that it's a little bit easier if you go ahead and get both of your screws in, because if you screw one in, sometimes it's hard to maneuver the second into the hole. So get both of your screws positioned, and then that way you will be able to, it's just gonna make it easier. Okay. All right. So you don't want to screw one in all of the way. Just take it, give it about 3 spins, and then go and get the other one placed in. And it's just going to make it easier. And then you can go back and tighten both all the way. All right, perfect. So cute. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and attach this. I want to use my new CustomMade label. I think it'd be cute on this black. I love black and gold. So I'm going to add it to the front of, I think it'd be cute right here, right? Yeah, that's cute. All right, I'm going to get that added really quick. Okay, so now let's go and work on our lining. If you would like to add a pocket or anything to your lining, go for it. I won't be doing that today, but I do have a tutorial on how to add zipper pockets, and also how to add slip pockets, and I will put the link in the bottom of this video for that. Let's grab our lining gusset pieces, and we're basically going to do the same thing we did before with our exterior pieces. So we're going to place these together and get them sewn right sides together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have it connected, we're going to open it, fold our seams open, and top stitch along each side at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to finish getting our lining assembled. We're going to place this right side down, match it in the middle. We're also going to match it on the top corners just like before. And we're going to sew this at we're going to sew this at Yes. We're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. But this time, we are going to be increasing that seam allowance to 1/2 of an inch just to make sure that it's not sagging in the middle. So we're going to start at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on the outsides, and then we're going to slowly increase it to 1/2 of an inch as we get towards the bottom. So I would say about right here, go ahead and start increasing it. And about right here, you should be at 1/2 of an inch. All right. Once I do this, I'm going to repeat it to the other side so that I'll have both of my lining pieces attached. But on one of these sides, you want to leave a hole for you to turn this bag out. So it doesn't matter along the side or the bottom. Leave about 5-6 inches so you can turn it. Oh yeah, so I decided that I wanted to use a stabilizer for my gusset piece just because it is so frail. You know, it's so thin, so I wanted to have a little bit more of structure to it. So what I did was I just grabbed my lining piece and I used that to make some stabilizer pieces. I basically just traced this on my stabilizer and then I removed, you know, some room for seam allowance. I might have removed a little bit too much. No, it'll be okay. Yeah, so now I'm going to take that and get it fused onto my lining gusset. Okay, I'm going to trim a little bit more. Okay, and I'm just going to cover this with some interfacing. And that way my my gusset will have a little bit of, you know, some shape to it. All right, so I'm going to get this interfaced on top and then I'm going to go and get my lining put together. Okay, so I went ahead and trimmed down my seam allowance on my lining. I did not trim down at the top. Oh, I missed a side. I did not trim down at the very top because we want to be able to open that up later, okay? But around the rest I trimmed, and also don't trim down a seam allowance on the part that you leave open. All right, let's grab our contrasting lining top pieces and lay them right sides together. Pin, and we're gonna go and sew right there just on the sides at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's open those seams up. Okay, let's open up those seams. And now we're going to go and top stitch on the outside of each seam at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? Okay, so my lining is now right side facing out. I'm going to take this top contrast piece and I'm going to flip it so that it's wrong side facing out. Now I'm going to slide my lining right through it so that the straight edge of this contrast piece is lined up with the top of the lining. I'm going to match up my midpoints. Also the midpoints on the side. Well, I don't have a midpoint on my gusset. I didn't mark it, but it's pretty tiny. So it won't be hard to find it. All right, and let's pin around the whole thing. Okay, and now we're gonna go and get this sewn together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's take our seam allowance and we want to push it down so that it's going towards the lining. Okay, seam allowance is going towards the lining. Finger press that a little bit. And let's head back to the machine, and now we're going to top stitch on the lining at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that seam allowance is going down towards the lining. I don't know if I said that. I think I did. You want to catch it as we do this top stitch. All right, so let's get these attached. We want our exterior piece to be facing right side out, and let's go ahead and get this lining inside out. And we're gonna place the exterior inside. Get in there. All right. And we're gonna tuck this between, I'm gonna tuck it in that back pocket right there. Perfection. Okay, and let's match up our midpoints. I'm gonna start in the front, the back. A little flap piece is gonna wanna give you trouble, but you just show it who's boss. You're the boss. All right. So I did my front, my back. Now I'm matching up my midpoints on the side. The gusset area. Okay. All right, and now we're going to go and get it clipped all the way around. All right, now let's go and get this sewn at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, once we've got that attached, we can go ahead and turn it out through our opening. Okay, so actually at this point, this is when you would install this part of your turn lock. I did it in the beginning. It doesn't really matter, but this is when it tells you to do it in the instructions, okay? My bad. Okay, so let's kind of massage these seams out a little bit. And then we are going to tuck this lining in. Actually, we're going to go ahead and close up our hole in the lining first. You can sew that closed if you like, or you can use some kind of fabric glue. Whatever is your preference. Whatever works for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get that closed up really quick. To close it, you're just going to either, if you're going to sew it, you fold it in. Fold in both sides and place them together. And if you pull it kind of tight, it's going to want to do it naturally anyway. And once it's folded in like that, you're just going to go and do a little top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Or you can glue it. Okay, so let's go ahead and, we've closed our hole up. Now let's go ahead and stuff that lining inside. Again, we need to finger press our lining really good. Get it ready for our top stitch. Get those curves pushed out really good. Now let's get that lining pushed into the corners. There we go, that feels good. Push it out. There we go. There we go. Yes, yes. Okay, yeah, that's good. See what that stabilizer did for that gusset? See how much better that looks? If you don't use stabilizer on your bags, I promise you, your bags could be struggling a little bit. It just gives that nice shape to them, a bit of professionalism that we're looking for. You don't want a slouchy bag, unless it's supposed to be a slouchy bag. Then yeah. All right, now I want to get my seams flattened out a little bit more than just my finger press, than just what I did with my finger pressing, just because my material is a little thick. So yeah, I'm gonna use this little tool. I got it from Amazon. Down below I have links to all of the stuff that I use, so you'll, if you like it and you want to grab it, I'll have a link available. Amazon, you know, Amazon's got everything. It really makes a big, this is actually for key fobs, but one day I was just like over my hammer because my baby was asleep, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be up here pounding. What can I use? And that was laying there, and I said, you know what? I bet if I just, and sure enough, it works great. Really flattens things out. I probably should have trimmed down my seam allowance a little bit. I feel like that should have been done along that curve. So if you have not closed yours up yet, I do recommend getting your seam allowance trimmed down around the curve area. Okay, now let's go and get some clamps put around the entire top so that we can go and get our top stitch added. All right, once we've got that completely pinned, we're gonna go and do a top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance.
Wendy's is open till midnight or later, so you can get into the craving and go night night. Now all of your favorite menu items just have their bedtime extended. You can get what you want even later, like the bacon maker with 6 strips of bacon. Perfect fries. You're a later bitch, so go ahead. All right, see you. I'm looking like William, but I ain't my girlfriend. Nah, bro, I'm on your block at the back when they finish. It look like the world end. Nah, I ain't asked for it, they did it to me. Niggas exposed to their hands for free. Get caught in the middle of this bullseye. You got hit with the target. I'm popping my shit with a capital P. SRT, red eye, red key. Might be ugly, but my bitch prep. She ain't even sneeze, but still I bless. I don't like niggas, I don't like bitches, I don't like nobody. We can get gangster, we can get good, how you wanna go back, how you wanna go. I don't backtrack, man, fuck that. I don't miss nobody, I don't miss nothing. Left it on scene.
So this is one of my fabrics. It's my favorite black to use because it looks and feels like leather, like no other. Like, I know you can see that. I know you see it, girl. Stop playing. Look at that. It looks so good. It's by Ultra Fabrics, which is my go-to for bag making. Like, if you don't know, baby, you don't know. I be trying to put y'all on. Y'all don't be hearing me, though. All right, we're almost done, y'all. Let's get our strap taken care of. I believe that now the pattern calls for, I believe, a 1-inch strap, but I really wanted to use this hardware because I don't know, I just like those vertical, you know, whatever that is going on. The aesthetic of it. I like the way that that looks. And I think that looks good with these stripes. I don't know, I like it, okay? But I think that these hooks are just a little bit too big for this bag because it is a smaller bag, which I love. I love small bags. So I'm going to have to use, I do have these in 2 sizes, so I'm gonna use my smaller one. So I'm gonna use my smaller size, which is made for connecting a chain to it, but I've also connected a small, like 1/2 inch strap to it, and it worked okay. So that's what I'm gonna do today because I really like the way that that looks next to this fabric. So I'm gonna use that, and I'm going to be making a 1/2 inch strap. So I've got my, I'm gonna make an adjustable strap, so I've got my 1/2 inch adjuster, and I also have some 1/2 inch strap ends. And all of these are available on my website, lovelittlelooks.com. I will put a link to them in the description box below. All right, let's get it. I've cut my strap 2 inches wide because, like I said, I'm doing a 1/2 inch. If you are gonna be doing a 1 inch strap, you can cut it 4 inches wide and then go and draw a line down the middle long way. I'm gonna start in the middle. I'm gonna fold in once and fold in twice. Then I'm going to fold to the middle. Now when you fold into your line, you don't want to fold all the way in because sometimes that can cause your strap to start to, you know, twist. You know how they like to do. So I'm going right to the outside of that line that I drew. Right to the outside of that line, and then I'm folding in. And that way there's a little bit of wiggle room for it to get its life together. All right, and I'm going to do this along the entire strap. All right, so let's get our strap done. Let's grab our adjuster piece. We're going to run it up, oops, up and over. Just like that. And then if you want, you can get a rivet added right there, or you can go and get it attached at the sewing machine. I am going to run over to the sewing machine because I'm too lazy to change my rivet. Be right back. Okay, now let's grab our swivel hooks. Okay, my strap is wrong side facing up, and I'm just going to run it through my fingers down to my hook. Pull that through. Making sure that nothing is twisting. I'm going to run this up and over. And now, same thing, making sure that you don't twist this. Right side is up. I'm going to run it through this swivel hook. Bam. There we go. Okay, and now I will be, again, you can either add a rivet or you can do a stitch. I'm going to do a stitch. Okay, so I'm going to leave enough room so that I can get this put on afterwards. So let me see. It's going to end about right there. I don't know why I grabbed 2 of these. I only need 1. Durr. Okay, so I know I need to go about right there. So, okay. So I'm going to go stitch that on really quick. And I probably said it, but just in case I didn't, I do have these strap ends available in 12 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and 25, which is going to be 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch. All right. They all screw in on the back. All right, we're done. There's our strap. Love. All right, I think I'm gonna add one of my labels to the side as well. So I added the one with the prong. This one I can attach with a hook or something. So I think I'm gonna do that. I think that'd be cute. Kind of match it up. Which hook should I use? I love adding little pieces like this to a bag. I just think it's so cute. Do I want to use this to add it? Or should I use a hook? I don't know. Let me play around. Oh, this might look cute. Because of the red. Does the red match? I totally forgot about this. This is another one of my pieces that I have available on my website. Oh, that would be too much though, right? Oh, man. If I would have remembered I had this, I would have used this and then not use this hook. I feel like that hook and this heart is just too much. Oh, man. That would have been pretty, huh? Oh, I might add it anyway. I don't care. It's so pretty. Oh. I feel like I'm gonna add it anyway. Oh gosh. You know what people say? Doing too much. That's what everybody's gonna be like, you're doing too much with this bag. I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm gonna add all of it. All right. I'm still gonna add you too, sweetie. Don't you worry. All right, y'all, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. If you make this bag, I want to see it. Do you understand? I want to see it. So tag me. You can find me on all of the social media platforms. And I'll also go ahead and add all of that stuff in my, I'll add a link to all of that stuff in the video description box as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.